Home Resources, a place you can depend on for all of your home ownership needs. My name is Kathleen Gano, your real estate concierge, and I'm excited to share with you how to maintain, update, and protect your investment. Today's topic is about organizing and having a better flow and life balance, and I'm here today with Jasmine Lee. Welcome, Jasmine.
Hi, thank you.
Jasmine has a business called Design Intentions, thank you. Yes, and you're a business owner as well as a designer.
Yes.
So that's great. What really impressed me in our first conversation, Jasmine, was how involved you were in the business, because a lot of times you go to these big places and you don't get to meet the people that are actually doing the job.
Yep.
And so that was important for me in our discussions. What is your company's mission in helping clients? Tell us a little bit about how you came about and what that is.
Yeah, so I am passionate about interior design. So my objective with every client is to improve the way that they live. And I find that happens when not only designing somebody's home to make it look better, but make it function for their lifestyle and their family by changing the way that the house is and turning it into a home specifically for them. I think it updates and changes the way that they live, and it just makes life a little better.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying about that, because when I did a renovation on my kitchen, I think the designer I talked to spoke a little bit on that, but there was something about our discussion earlier with how important that is in getting to know your client.
Yeah.
What steps do you take to get to know the client so you know what their needs are? Because very often when I meet people, my clients, they don't really know what they want.
Yeah.
They think they do.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you get them into that process?
Yeah, so I think that any space can be designed several hundred different ways. But the best part, or the most fun part, is to figure out what your needs are. So what is the client looking for? What are their likes, dislikes? And oftentimes, and I'm sure you can relate to this, but in the very beginning conversation, you'll hear right away, like, oh, I really love purple. Or, they're going to bring out something. It's going to be subtle sometimes, but it's something to fixate on and pick up on all those little details, because that's forming the information that I need to really create the best design for them.
Right.
So it's hunting down all that information.
Yeah, and I think when we think about a project like a kitchen or a bathroom renovation or even a walk-in closet, we see the things we don't like, but we don't even know, we have no vision about what else it could be like.
I think that's also the best part of being an outside source and being the designer. I'm stepping in. I have no personal involvement with the items in the room.
Right.
I'm going to make it function better. I'm going to make it look better by listening to the needs and wants.
Right.
But I don't have any connection to the fact that the jackets in the closet have always been on the left and now they're going to be on the right. That doesn't
bother you at all.
Exactly. I'm there to present a better flow of life.
So let's start with a bath, because that's a smaller project, or walk-in closet, whichever you choose. How do we start to begin to transform that space?
So like I said, starting with the initial needs and wants, and then kind of...
So you do a consult right off the bat?
Yes, exactly. And that consult will explain basically the pain points, and that's always what I'm after.
What are those?
Yeah, pain points are, my husband and I keep bumping into each other in the bathroom every time in the morning when we're trying to get ready and out the door in the next 15 minutes, whatever it may be.
Right.
There's no storage. So bathroom is completely about function, because so many things happen in such a small space.
Right.
And in a bathroom, it's about how many people are using it. So how many people in the family are using this 1 or 2 or 3 bathrooms that are available. And then in a kitchen, it's how is the whole family functioning in that space. And so, going through and figuring out those pain points of how many times we're all bumping into each other, who's hip checking the countertop. You know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
all sorts
yeah.
of things.
So it's not just about what color marble or flooring do I want. It's
No.
more about the function
Yes.
of how the
yes.
bathroom works.
Yes.
What are some common things that we might overlook in a bathroom that we really should pay more attention to?
Storage.
Storage.
Yeah, and proper storage. I think we sometimes just, you know, the cleaning supplies go under the sink, then there's a drawer or two for the little everyday items, and then maybe there's like a closet, or maybe there isn't. But I find that making sure that how everything is organized, how many people are using it, and really designing it to be efficient to those scenarios, that's going to offer the best. And then lighting is huge.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I have had other vendors on that talked about lighting. So let's talk about specific to a bathroom.
Yep.
What kind of lighting are we looking for?
So it depends on the size of the bathroom, but lighting, good lighting, so that there's light being evenly distributed on your face, is ideal. Because if it's, you know, up top, above your head, you're casting shadows, as opposed to lights on either side of your face, you're giving that even distribution.
I'm just thinking about my bathroom right
Yeah,
now. Okay,
sure,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm thinking about changing that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Yeah, that's the best scenario.
Right.
And then you want general lighting. So in any room, but in a bathroom, we want the general lighting, but then we want task lighting. Oftentimes you have some sort of lighting for the bathroom, the bath or the shower, versus the general space, versus the vanity or where you're standing there to do your makeup or get ready for your day.
Yeah, yeah. What is one of the largest or proudest bathrooms that you've designed?
I have a couple, but there's one of my very first projects. There was a bathroom, and it was made up of 5 little rooms. The vanity had like its own room. The bathtub had its own space.
Yeah.
And we ended up just completely taking down all the walls and reconfiguring the whole thing, and it turned into this huge master suite with a his and hers walk-in closet. And to me, that was really special because it was one of the first, but also being able to see the size of a space and then made up of all different rooms, reconfigure that, and just completely change their lives.
We deal with that in houses all the time, right? But
Yes.
I never, until now, I hadn't thought, hey, that happens in bathrooms too.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's cool, let's close in the tub, and then, no, now we like it open.
Now we want to open it
so
up.
everything changes.
Yep.
Are clients leaning more into walk-in showers versus bathtubs these days?
Yes. Yeah, much more. I take out a lot of the built-in bathtubs that were put in, I feel like, every home.
Yeah.
And every...
No, I hear you on this, because I see it on the other side, you know, when we're showing homes. Yeah, we're seeing far less emphasis on bathtubs and more emphasis on walk-in showers.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really important. People see these amazing showers when they go to these hotels, and they want to recreate that in their home.
Yeah.
Great, no problem. But then also introducing the factor of like aging in the home. You know, do you plan on being there for a really long time? Let's think about that, and let's do it in a way that's going to provide a really nice look, so that it doesn't look like you're preparing for, you know, 20 years down the road or whatever it may be. But
that's a good point, because people are staying in their homes longer, and they are not wanting to change that housing out, which is why we have an inventory shortage.
Which is, I see a lot of people, they're staying in their homes, and they're trying to create their dream home out of the home that they're in.
Right,
and
And that, I think that came out of COVID. I think people really came to find their home as a safe place to be, and so now they're looking, you know, they went on this huge ride of let's make it better. And again, there was no inventory, so we weren't doing that. When should a homeowner reach out to you to discuss making changes?
As soon as possible.
Good answer. How often do they usually reach out versus when they should?
Usually I think they're 1 month shy of when they should. So I think sometimes people are under the impression that the process is going to be simple and easy. And I try to make it as simple and easy as I can.
Right.
But you get opinions and understanding how their lives are going to shift, and it starts to get a little more complicated. So
Yeah, because I'm sure you're bringing up things that they didn't think of.
yep, yeah, and the possibility of reorganizing the way that the kitchen used to be or has been for 15 years, and now we're going
Right.
to change it to something else. So it's a process, and I find it takes about 1 to 2 months on average just to do the design process.
That was one of my other questions too. Yeah, how long does
Yeah.
that design process last?
Yeah, it's 1 to 2 months on average.
Yeah.
But I've spent, depending on the size of the project, I've spent 6 months, 9 months just designing to get it right, because you want to make sure the details are there before ordering all the product and
Right.
before sharing those plans with a contractor. So,
Yeah, and investing all that money both in the contractor's time as well as the product.
yeah.
And then making a mistake in the end, which is what causes people not to take action to start anyways,
Yes, yes, yes. The fear of hitting start. So,
right? Yeah, yeah,
But-
yeah.
yeah, as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, good answer. So you mentioned kitchens. Let's talk a little bit about kitchens. Bathroom is a smaller space, and I had no idea. I'm glad we started with the bathroom. I, 4 or 5 years ago, I renovated a kitchen, and there were a lot of decisions. What are some of the most common trends today with kitchens as far as functioning kitchens?
Multiple workspaces. So there's the work zone or the prep zone typically between the cooking surface and the sink. That
Right.
is always your normal prep zone.
Right.
But then people often want an island or somewhere for people to sit with them in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So we'll imagine an island where it's got 3 or 4 seats so that maybe your spouse or your kids can sit there even though you're cooking.
Right. Right.
And so they have their own zone. And then on a lot of the times I'm finding now is a coffee station or a wet bar. So kind of just like your beverage zone. And
Right.
so what that is introducing is people are having their fridge, but then bringing in like a beverage fridge.
Yeah.
So they're putting their everyday, not just the alcohol maybe,
Right.
but also like other everyday beverages off to the side. So now they've kind of got 2 zones of refrigeration. So really taking the time to dissect how they're going to use the room and then putting everything in a reasonable location.
So when you're talking with somebody who's designing a kitchen, what percentage of the time are you leaning into look versus function?
Function is always first. I, for whatever reason, can achieve the look that you want in many different ways.
That's
So
easier.
that's much easier.
Yeah.
With function, though, it really is more difficult with the way that things go together, and there's only so many places that I can put that refrigerator.
Right.
Where we can't just plop it in the center of the room. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So
right. You have that original triangle that they try to do with the sink and the stove and the refrigerator.
Yeah. I don't necessarily always work with the triangle. I kind of morph that triangle.
Well, and kitchens are bigger now, and they're more open than they used to be. And the some of the smaller, the cave style houses and ranches, there's only so much space that you have. And
Yes.
I have a question on that after. But I think kitchens are the center or the heart of the home now. We spend a lot of time in them,
Yes.
and I think that's a good thing because that
Yes.
brings us home, right?
Yeah. And that's making dining rooms go away.
It is making
So-
dining rooms go away. People are using those for offices now.
Yes. Yes. Or they're willing to take down that wall to add it to the kitchen if it's conveniently located.
Right.
But
We used to call that a country kitchen, and now it's not country anymore. It's
yeah.
just
It's just that room that
yeah,
collects.
yeah. It's that central part of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So we did have a question on smaller kitchens. What are the how do you make a smaller kitchen when you don't have that additional space functional?
So figuring out the key things that are required. So we'll just take sink, stove, refrigerator,
Yeah.
placing those in the best possible space. But then working with the colors to kind of keep it light and open,
Okay.
really important. And then figuring out what other kinds of like intricate storage that we can incorporate into the cabinets. So maybe there's some sort of really good, if for somebody that really likes to bake, maybe there's really good interior accessories that we can incorporate so that this one little spot, even though it's a small kitchen, we're still designating that this area is where all the baking supplies are going to go.
And this is where your consult comes in and making sure that you understand the person and what's important to them in that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's just a drawer.
Yep. It guides the whole project. You
Yeah.
know, because it's a big project for any client, big or small kitchen. It's still a big investment for any homeowner.
Right.
And I feel like if you're not there to listen to what their personal needs are, so that baking cabinet is really important to them, then it's going to be really hard to relate and work with them. Because this isn't just a month or 2 month process. I'm going to be with you for the next possible year while you go through this. So I want to make sure that it's
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. And that baking cabinet's important.
Yeah. One of my questions was, what are the benefits? I think I know the benefits just myself because there were a couple things. The best thing I ever did was the deep drawers for pots and pans.
Yes.
And that was the designer who did my kitchen because I didn't know you back then.
It's okay.
That was a recommendation. And I was like, yeah, because I was tired of bending down and digging out, pots and pans. Is there something that you always see people choosing in the kitchen? They're designing?
Yeah, so what you mentioned, like drawers.
The deep drawers.
Yeah, deep drawers for pots and pans, like you said. Also for dishes.
Yeah,
so
stacking them.
Being able to lift something up and onto the counter versus down and off a shelf is becoming more popular. And then a lot of pantry storage. So how can we get the food storage all to be collective in one space, still in the kitchen, but have its own central point, as opposed to having some stuff over here, over there, and so.
I'm thinking about my kitchen right now as you're talking. How is it organized?
Come over and organize it.
Yeah, better yet, my mother's kitchen. Do you have any tips for our audience on how to get a project started?
I would say first, going through your own house and figuring out why it is that you want to do this to begin with. Is it just because you want it to look pretty?
Right, you just want that new
is that the reason?
Countertop. Yes, yeah.
But kind of circling all the way back is, what are the pain points?
Right.
What is bothering you about, or what has been bothering you about this kitchen? And a lot of times there's something that clients have been putting up with for years that they just absolutely hate. So that would be your first pain point. Sometimes it's an appliance dies and they need to get something new, and this is kicking it off. But still, what is it? What are your pain points? And then go through Pinterest, go through different websites, and collect the pictures that really speak to you.
Yep.
A lot of times that can be a bit of a rabbit hole for people, where you just get lost in that abyss. But a lot of times when I start working with a client and I say, okay, send me a few pictures that just really speak to you. Yeah. And within that, we can have a good conversation and pull out of that, oh, well, I liked this one part of this picture and I like that part. And as the design develops, we're able to reference those and pull them in and realize that it had a lot of meaning in the beginning.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you have this combination of getting to know your clients in a level that you can help them with the functionality and the balance in their lives, and then and you're helping them transform it to the beauty that they're seeking. So it's tying those two things together that's critical in what you do. For me, it's more than just designing a room. It's designing for the client. Yeah, I picked up on that. Well, I really appreciate you coming in, because I get these questions all the time in my world, and I get to see a lot of mistakes that people make when they're doing these projects. And I think if they just had the opportunity to speak with you, and so I really appreciate you coming in and putting this together, and whatever we can do to help share you with the world, I think you'd bring a light to their projects.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all of this. This is great.
Awesome. Thank you also for joining us today. If you have tip ideas for topics for us or questions about your home, please email us at the email address on the screen. We want to earn the right to be your real estate concierge. I would also like to invite you to our Be Home Facebook group. Again, my name is Kathleen Gano, and I am signing off for today. Be well and live well.